Good evening. We're in the council chambers. It's Tuesday, September 15th. It's 6:31. We have 7 items on the agenda. Mary had asked to put item number 8 on the agenda, and that would be what, Mary?
IT service.
Okay. Jeff, do you have anything?
Yeah, I do have a invoice from Classic Coatings that I'd like to discuss with the committee.
Classic Coatings?
Coatings, yes, that's for the work on the water tower.
Okay. And that'll be it. Item number 1 will be the land exchange proposal, and that was with Mr. Eisenbrand. Is he here? Yes, he is. So Jeff, go ahead.
Okay, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, Mr. Eisenbrand contacted us and to start to reinitiate some discussions about providing or getting water and sewer to building off the easterly extension of Wright Street. And so with that, staff took a look at the old file on the project, and back in 2010, we got to a point in this where there was a land exchange that was being proposed, where the city was going to be granting a portion of our, giving our property, a portion of our property to Mr. Eisenbrand, and then vice versa, basically a swap, square foot for square foot. That would provide their building with access to water and sewer, and so it would help them out with that, and then on our side it would help the dimensions of a parcel of property that we own adjacent to Wright Street. So it looked like a win-win situation. We got to a point where there was a preliminary and final plat scheduled for public hearing at the Planning Commission, and I believe the potential buyer or user of the building backed out of the deal, so the request was to put everything on hold, and that's been pretty much the status for the past 4 years. So a month or so ago, we started looking at this project again. I had a couple of meetings with Mr. Eisenbrand, and the results of that are, again, to take a look at a proposal to do a land swap, where this would involve approximately 52,000 square feet, where we would grant approximately that square footage to Mr. Eisenbrand. That would provide him with frontage and access to utilities on Wright Street, and then in turn that would add that same amount of square footage to a parcel that the city has adjacent to Wright Street, and would make that parcel better dimensionally to be developed. So from a staff perspective, we think it's a good deal for the city, and certainly a good deal for them. At this point, we're just asking for conceptual approval to the proposal, and if the council gives us conceptual approval, then the process from here would be to develop legal descriptions and prepare deeds and move forward with the land swap.
And I would definitely want to hear you. A couple of questions I have is the parcel that Brainerd's taking here, I do not see any access to the roads.
Are you looking at the colored one?
Yeah.
Okay, the city of Brainerd owns the parcel between the road and the colored portion.
Okay.
Are you on Exhibit 2?
Yeah, I tore it apart trying to figure out where we're at.
So,
Yes. So, okay, right now, Eisenbrand's owned down to this line, and north of it. So the proposal would be that we would deed this parcel to them. They would deed this parcel to us. Right now, we own everything south of that line, between Wright Street.
Okay.
So we're giving him this, he's giving us that.
Is there any road that comes through here?
No, not at this point. But we've got access right from Wright Street.
So this piece of land back there to get utilities to, I mean, you've got utilities running on both sides of the road here.
Right. Yep. Well, no, this is not an existing. Well, it's a trail.
That's a trail.
We've got utilities stubbed out all along.
Okay.
So we've got utilities stubbed into this lot and over here.
So you have utilities from here all the way to that lot?
Not to it. Everything's just stubbed out.
where's the access to these guys?
Right now, the only access is, there's no access from Wright Street. The access would have to come from north of here, come from the cul-de-sac. Right now, the access comes from
So to get to this lot, the access is back here?
Well, presently, but once, if the parcel's deeded to the city of Brainerd, then it's contiguous with the property we own, so our access would be that way.
But we don't.
No, not built.
So there would be a
So-
cost to us
Yeah.
not only to build the access, but to put in the.
And that's gonna be the case no matter what. So right now, if we own this parcel, if we wanted to sell it, someone wanted to buy it, there's still gonna be a cost with putting in an access and stuff.
I wonder if.
But to get it from here to here, you're gonna have to put this is a separate parcel.
But we would consolidate it. So this depth is only about 110 feet. So to really get a structure in there, it's gonna be pretty difficult with the setbacks. So the addition of this, we would consolidate that into one parcel of record.
Is this the,
Yes. That is city owned.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanna make sure that we're not giving up utilities and access.
No, we're not giving up
Yeah.
any utilities or
well,
access.
I
We've
think
got,
we got kind of burned once, or something, maybe this, where we built the road to nowhere.
But, so basically, there's one stub for this lot and one stub for this lot, and this stub is big enough to carry the water main back to this, and you're saying that you,
most of them are on the hydrant leads and there's.
But there's no road
Road go,
getting
no,
into this.
no, no.
What is this?
That's, that's more of the ice brand property. Going to the north.
So basically,
Yes,
So Eisenbrand would go all the way like so.
to this line. Yeah, you can see it a little bit better on this parcel, right, or on this map. Right now, they own, down to this line. I can't really see the line, but they own down to there.
so you're gonna take this piece here to them, or from here?
So this would be, so they own this, we would be giving them this corner, right here, and they would be giving us this little rectangle here,
And then,
and we already own that.
and we already own that.
okay, so we're picking up this piece right
Mhm.
here. Okay. Yeah, that makes a little sense, to see what's going on
Mhm.
on that bigger map. Because from here, you look like you were landlocking yourself.
Well,
and that-
what is this?
That's all city-owned property.
So we would only be able to get out this,
No,
No, no,
no,
or
we're
then
going
out
out to
this
the
way.
right street.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. So this lot and this lot are being swapped.
Mhm.
Yes, yep, that one, and this one is gonna go all the way down to that little.
And that's also yours there?
Yes,
Okay, so you're gonna give them this
Mhm.
piece here.
but it'd be equal square footages.
Okay. So
That
then we're
makes
at
sense.
two.
Now, what is in here for utilities?
Nothing is in here either. All the utilities are underneath the road
So,
and stubbed out.
okay, there's
So-
no sewer, no water,
So
no
they,
nothing in here.
yeah, it's stubbed out, so they would have to connect to the stubs and then extend water.
It's in
and
their
sewer
property,
everywhere.
right at the property. It's
Yeah.
a stub, and I don't know how many stubs you would have for that parcel. One or two?
Just one. I
Okay,
think this is one stub there.
okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense when I see it
Well,
from this
yeah,
point.
seems like it would work
Yeah,
well for everybody.
yeah, and I have no problem as long as you're conscientious of, and I'm sure you all are.
So what, do we have any plan that, that would be ours?
Yeah, to offer it for sale.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be available to, for sale for
Got a
industrial
lot of
purposes.
stuff like that,
Yes.
not doing us much good. Well,
So you said this parcel's how many, 150?
They're both about 52,000 square feet.
Okay, and then this one down
So a
here is
little over an acre, about an acre and a quarter.
yeah, and then this one here is
A little bit smaller.
okay. Can whoever buys it split these two up?
depend on what they did, I
That-
suppose.
yeah, provided that they meet the lot size requirements.
But they'd have to have a, both
Mhm.
I can see that, you know, he's just trying to bring it from the road all the way up to this building at the rear here, right?
Yes.
Is that the direction he's going? He's trying to go from Wright Street all the way up to the back of the building. And then there isn't there sewer and water going down Kitty Hawk?
Yes, there is. Yep,
And it goes all the way-
to the cul-de-sac, yes.
So he does have water and sewer access to
that
there.
building.
That's done, so it's just to the shed down. Okay. And the assessment on this, so how?
There are no outstanding assessments.
Who paid for
That was the arrangement that was made, in lieu of assessments, the city accepted land. So that's how the city became the owner of approximately 25 acres of property that's currently being served.
Do we got a for sale sign out there?
That's part of the property that close members
I didn't see no
marketing
for sale signs out there.
No,
Is
I don't
there?
know if there's.
There's no for sale signs on that, is there, Bruce? On city property out there? No. You want to come up and just, for a second, just help us out a little bit? It looks like, we understand what's going on. We just... You want to go to the mic there? Yeah, we've got that information here. I just wanted to hear if you had anything to add to what we already,
Sorry about that.
so they can hear you at home.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because looking at the map here, you can look, this is the city's property, outlot A and outlot B. We'd be swapping, you'd be giving me virtually outlot A, and I'll be giving you 50-some thousand square feet of our property to sort of make your outlot B more marketable for sure. And then we would be putting the sewer and water in, which in essence could be hooked up to your lot also at the same time. And we'll be doing the cost of doing that.
Okay. Yeah, and with 9 items on the agenda, I'm watching the clock in 45 minutes. I have to knock everything down to 5 minutes, and we got 14 on this one.
Okay.
So I'm not seeing a problem.
Yeah, and do you see a problem?
I hope not.
Okay.
See, I feel like we've been
Right.
taken
Yeah,
a
we'll
couple
take it
different
to the
times
council,
here.
and thank you so
So
much.
I
It
will
sounds like we got,
support it, but I guess if it doesn't
yeah,
turn out to the city's advantage, I'm gonna hold Jeff personally responsible. And I'll go after him. Well, we got
That's fine.
burned on.
Item number 2, MnDOT agreement 05031, amendment number 1.
Okay, in the memo, I tried to explain why we need amendment number 1 to our MnDOT agreement for the transit system. This year, in the 2014 transit budget, we had some funds to expand service hours, and that was initially slated to begin, I believe, this summer sometime. With Tom leaving back in April or May, and just trying to get through this transition, and trying to get our route match computerized dispatching software up and running, and everything that we've been dealing with, we're just not going to be able to try to coordinate that for this year. So we've asked MnDOT, that we've informed them that are not going to be able to start that this year, and that we'd like to try to take another look at the expanded service and perhaps shoot for starting that next March sometime. That's fine. They're okay with that. We do have those expanded hours in our proposed budget for 2015, but they do need to amend our agreement for 2014 so they can take that additional operating money and allocate that elsewhere in different systems. So with that, staff would recommend the council's approval of amendment number 1.
Second.
Favor?
Aye. By the way, tell the new guy to send out agenda. We've got a meeting coming up, but there was no agenda.
I just saw the agenda late this afternoon, so it should be coming out.
Item number 3, disposal of transit bus number 113.
Okay, I thought I had run this through the committee and the council last spring, but we looked at council minutes and I couldn't find it anywhere. This is the transit bus that had a broken frame, and so It's not, so it has been out of service since last April. We did receive authorization from MnDOT to dispose of the bus. We need to take the final step of having the council also authorize disposal of the bus. Typically, what we are doing with this, and we already have done it, is we're cannibalizing the bus. We have, shortly after we had the broken frame, we did have a motor go out in a different bus, so we salvaged the engine from 113. We've also salvaged other parts on the lift and other essential items. What we're doing with these buses is kind of stripping them, salvaging whatever parts we can to repair the other buses, and then when there's nothing but a shell left, we're selling them for $100 to Shipment Auto. So that's the procedure or process that we're using for
So
disposal.
when you're saying $482 here, you're not asking for $482 for the
No,
bus?
no, we just needed to document that the value was low enough so that MnDOT would authorize disposal.
Okay. So you're just giving it to Shipment?
Yeah, we'll just strip it of parts and, you know,
Second.
All in favor?
get rid of the
Aye.
chassis.
Item number 4, we're going to set a public hearing to consider 2014 special assessments. Anything strange in it?
Yeah, this is assessment hearings that we conduct every fall to consider special assessments against our street improvements. In the memo, I've got the list of improvements. It would be improvements 1317, 1318, 1402, 1319, downtown snow removal and special services district, and then our 2014 nuisance abatements. So we would like to set those public hearings for 7:30 p.m. Monday, October 20th. At the first meeting in October, we should have the cost calculated so that we can identify the proposed amounts to be assessed. We don't have that data yet. The hearing's still 5 weeks out, but we need to have council action to at least set the hearing dates because of the 3-week gap between council meetings.
So you're going to have the cost calculated by when?
The first meeting in October, we will have costs calculated and the amounts of the assessments calculated.
First meeting of October.
Yes. Yep.
Now, nobody knows what that is right offhand, right?
October 6th.
Okay, thanks. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Good idea.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 5, code enforcement activity. This
Okay.
is where Mary comes in.
Oh, come on.
At the second meeting of each month, we've been including sort of an update on code enforcement activities. We didn't have the comparison to previous years, but so far this year, there's a pie chart attached and kind of shows the distribution of the types of enforcement activities that we've been involved with this summer. So far, we've had 873 cases, and I believe the vast majority of those have been abated, so there's very, very few that are still outstanding.
How did we have snow removal in the summer?
That was in the winter.
It's,
That's
so
year
this
to
is a
date.
whole year.
Yes, this is year to date.
Yeah. If
I
you-
had an interesting question asked of me.
You look at the top.
Oh, okay.
Actually, you know,
And that was this. Do any of these activities to be in compliance require a permit?
Sure, somebody.
yeah, because I know that
No.
Lori said she's really busy with people coming up, you know, asking her for, you know, permits for various things that they know that they need to address.
The issue the person raised, and I thought it was a very interesting question, and he may have a very good point, is that then the city is, in effect, being rewarded. We are benefiting financially from this because then people have to go from here to the permit department. So they look upon it as kind of a conflict of interest, kind of like if the doctor owns the clinic, and that has already been by law. And this gentleman said to me, that's the conflict the city has. It's in their interest to do as much as they can to make people get permits to do And, you
So
know,
which item would you be
I don't
talking about?
I
'Cause-
don't know, that's why I asked.
So,
Fence
Well,
maintenance,
for
maybe?
example.
go ahead, Mark.
Jeff, you rebut it.
The only thing I can really think of is if, is in the case where there's a repair order. Where, maybe the building official has noticed that, there's, broken windows or a roof that is so dilapidated that it needs to be repaired.
Right.
Those would be the only things I can really think of. Everything else is more just
Yeah.
violations of nuisances.
So it's property maintenance violations, probably.
And not even those. I would be surprised if we have a half dozen of them out of the 893, if there's a dozen even that actually required a permit.
I'm just remembering that one house from, I think it was last summer, where the roof was kind of caving in, and that was a safety issue,
Yeah.
and of course you'd have to get a permit to fix it.
Sure.
Go ahead, Mark, add to it.
Well, I just want to clarify that these enforcement actions do not include zoning ordinance violations, such like a fence, or grass parking, or swimming pools in the wrong place, or any other restriction that the zoning ordinance might have. Those are not included in this.
How many do you have of those? Could we have that at the next meeting, roughly?
Oh, yeah, we can
You
put
know,
something
just
together.
yeah, and then because personally, up until this point, I thought they included them. So if you wouldn't have hopped in and said this, and then now we're adding the numbers, and we could add the numbers of that and see where we're at.
Well, it won't be 873.
But why? No. But no, I know that. But
Right,
you
I
know,
know.
and then that would answer Mary's question. That part requires some of them,
Yeah.
permitting.
Well, this
But-
gentleman raised the question. I'd
Yeah.
never thought of it, but it was a good question.
Yeah. But where are we standing from last year at this point? I didn't see last year's numbers on here.
We're ahead of last year.
Okay.
I think last year, the total year, I think we were at about 850 or 840, 800 and
Okay.
somewhere in there, just a little over 800.
And then as far as revenue, we're at 26,500,
Which is considerably above last year's.
yeah, that's what I thought. So that more.
And this does include,
like
that does
that
include the
revenue source?
$2,000 for the Kinder property.
How do I
That's
see
all
it
I
here? Yeah, and we are being
Please
fair.
understand.
Yeah,
What was that last?
The 26.5 does include the 2,000 in accumulated citations for the Kinder
Does
property.
or does not?
Does.
Does. Okay.
a lot of these issues that you are doing, and I'm going to address this if somebody have a question, but the insurance company requires, especially when you get to property maintenance violations, roofs, paints, and stuff like that. And basically, what the insurance company, and I have a good friend, they go out and inspect it. If they see the paint chips, and I'm sure Mr. Berger knows this, that if they see these issues, they give them X amount of days to do it themselves, otherwise they drop the insurance. And they've been going around doing that. As a matter of fact, my business was one of them. You know, the insurance company went out there and checked and gave me an X amount of days, and they're looking for anything from flaking. So a lot of what you're doing, the insurance companies is already requiring for that structure to be insured.
I really like looking at the address numbers.
Yeah.
I've noticed so many places in Brainerd, they aren't visible at all, and it's a safety issue, and that's why I'm concerned. Because I would think for any emergency vehicle, it would be important to have those like visible.
That's how he found the animal feces. No, go
I'm
ahead.
glad they're taking a look at that.
Yeah. So, very good. And basically, this goes into one more, goes for a solid month yet. Okay.
Yes, yep.
Item number 6, we're going to spend a little time here, 5-year construction plan.
Okay, we had our special meeting about this last Thursday, and at the conclusion of that, I think it was left that staff is going to take a look at the first 3 years of that plan and try to prioritize and bring that back at the next meeting. So if there's, I guess, any other direction the committee would like to give us on that.
Did we come up with a dollar amount that you're gonna spend for seal coating?
We had a recommendation in terms of what we were proposing for seal
But he
coating.
had to finesse the entire thing based on
Yeah.
discussion, I think.
Yes, yep.
That
So-
was my understanding.
What we came up with, and I read the paper, but I didn't bring it, is the, when we talked about doing 13th Street, what other projects are included? 1408. Anything that says 1408 would be part of 13th Street, or is there others that are part of 14th, or of 13th Street
The,
Southeast?
the 13th Street, the main sanitary sewer, and I don't have that in front of me,
got it
1408,
here.
that would be that. But the other one that could be tied to that would be the Maple Street between 12th and 14th.
Yep, and you got that
Yeah.
listed as the same job number as 1408.
Okay, so-
So when we use 1408 for next year, Maple from 12th to 14th is listed as the same.
We
job.
could separate that out. And I think that was kind of what we heard in the discussion, is maybe we want to separate out the Maple Street.
And when you do come back to us with your proposals, could you give us a couple of alternatives? I always like to look at options. You know, here's this option, here's that, and this is what it would mean financially, because finances are huge.
Yeah.
You have a second, Jeff, just to point to me which ones, on here, because you don't have yours with, but I just was, maybe I've got an extra one here for you. Because if they ask,
This is-
yeah, we can have one of them. But we had talked about 1408,
Yeah, yes. Talked about 1408.
and then I noticed, like I said, Maple was attached to it, and
Yeah,
because
1306.
this is here,
and then what was the other one?
The other,
and then it
well, I think
becomes-
the 1401, that microsurfacing, that was on Oak Street.
I
That's
keep
one that
going
I think
back and
we really
forth
need
over
to take a
too.
look at. 'Cause we don't want to lose Oak Street. And I think the other one was Jackson Street. But I'm
Jackson
not-
was number 3, right?
Yeah, that was kind of at the end.
Okay, so I'll put this one as the third. Oh, my pen's going right.
And that was on the construction side, and I think, of course, in terms of steel coating and crack filling, we wanted to do the maintenance items first.
So then on here, did we talk about any of these going, I mean, I highlighted street patching and I highlighted street
Striping we're gonna have to do.
crack sealing and seal coating,
And
Jim?
we would definitely recommend doing those.
So 100, did we talk about 153,000 into seal coating for next year?
We talked about a number of figures, but I think we asked Jeff to maybe do more in seal coating and less in construction.
Right.
It was my understanding. And so I think as you go through that, you're going to have to give us some
Right.
options. We'll do
Yeah.
this, or we
Yeah,
can do
and I
that.
think we'll just put this together so that we can
Yeah.
kind of see what the options are. I mean, as you mentioned, and I agree completely, I think we've got more bang for the buck in doing some of the crack filling and seal coating.
Lot of
And if that means that we have to, if we've already got a street that's in the condition where we gotta completely reconstruct it anyway, then it's just gonna cost us a little bit more in maintenance to pothole patch or whatever, but.
And let's set a date, maybe at the next meeting, so we can do a little trip around.
Okay, yes.
I think
That
that's
street, and this
something
street, we did talk about incorporating those.
Those.
And what are those streets? on
That's
here?
Rosewood in Chicago.
Is that on here?
Yes. Chicago and
Okay,
Then
so
I
we're gonna do this one, that's Chicago, and then where's Rosewood?
Rosewood should be, Portland, excuse me, Portland.
Okay, so,
Portland's the one by the Florida.
Yeah, so
That
that-
is the worst.
yeah, Portland will go down with 13th. So with 13th, I'm gonna make Portland 2A and Chicago 2A, because that's, number 1 was 28th Street, and then number 2 was 13th Street Manor, and that included Chicago, and it included Portland.
Portland and also included then
Maple.
Maple Street.
Okay, so then that's gonna include that, and that'll be 2A too. So that's got a pretty good sized project, and then you're gonna be, number 3, we were gonna work with the Baxter on this
Yeah.
one. Do you think Baxter would hold off?
I don't think so, because their section of Excelsior is really falling apart. My thought would be, instead of doing it back to back, if we don't do Jackson Street next year, then my thought would be, let's wait 3-4 years.
Jackson
and-
Street isn't bad at all. I drove back and forth over that 2 or 3 times over the weekend, just to really pay attention. It's not bad at all.
It's gonna be getting there.
I suppose it will.
There's a
So
lot.
will you
We did
and
an
I.
excellent job of patching potholes.
You guys do. That part is true.
Old Stonebridge Court, is that separate from 13th
Oh,
Street
forget
South?
Yes.
that.
Okay, that's all I wanted to ask,
Don't wanna
okay.
do Old Stone.
So we got that down. Let's go with item number 7 then, the downtown landscape assessment. Mr. Farringer is here. We'll start out with you right off the bat. Do you want to roll up the ladder?
David Brainerd, 616 Half Front Street, Brainerd, Minnesota. I was tasked with being the president of the Downtown Building Owners Association, and we were talking about the flower assessment or plant assessment, and I pulled all the owners from the list I got from the city to find out what they felt about what was fair. And I'd like to mention that it seems most of the people feel around 40%, or the same split we had when we did the downtown mall, when we rebuilt the mall. At that time, there was a lot of discussion. It was a 40% the owners pay, 60% the city pay, because of mutual benefits. Now, we don't mind paying our fair share. Out of the people I got responses from, I'm guessing between 60-65% of the actual land footprints of the buildings in the downtown did respond to my polling. And I've brought every letter to you so you can look at it. I just kind of let people circle. I told them what I felt. And there was one that felt 30%. That was the VFW, or the Legion Post, I believe. No, VFW. And one would be willing to pay more if there were a lot better flowers, but everybody seemed to go where they're interested in the 40%. There's been some questions in the past of why should anybody in the city pay for flowers for the downtown with tax money besides the people that are in front of the buildings. Couple things. We don't own those flowers, and it's not necessarily our choice that the flowers go in. The city decided it. And then the thing about tax dollars being used for public benefits or whatever, we use tax increment financing to finance the Brainerd Oaks, which was a business entity. We use it for the Eastgate Mall, which is a very large business entity. The sandwich shop was just done recently for tax increment financing. The school on the east side that they've turned into an art, what would you call it? Art incubator, I guess would be the proper word. The industrial parks get tax money to help those businesses. And we feel that downtown is a very important part of the overall image of Brainerd. We're willing to do our part, but we don't feel we should be paying 100% of it. We feel that we benefit some, and we kind of felt in the past that the 40-60% split was pretty fair. And when the old city council finished the mall, they just said, well, you guys pay for 100% of the flowers, no discussion. And that's what we brought it up. As you're aware, it's gotten to be a pretty high number. We were almost 26,000 the initial bids. It went down, I believe, to 15,000, 16,000 after we decided to cut back on some of the services. But we just feel that would be a better split, and I did the polling so you guys wouldn't have to run around and listen to everybody, and hopefully we can do something in that range. Any questions?
Go ahead. Any question? And I'm opposed to it, but I understand what you're going with it, but I'm just looking at our budget, and we are just scratching everything right out of it. You're going to hear it tonight when it comes in.
I understand, I was down there, but the budget still has to be fair,
And it is,
except for the guys who are being forced to pay for flowers.
the only other option I would say is like we've been doing now is just half the whole thing. Get it, wanted it, the flowers got to go. I mean, we hacked 13 jobs out of a sewer and water thing meeting a couple weeks ago. Projects that need to be done, we don't have.
I understand money is tight.
And Dave, I think in truth that what the city put into the downtown probably far exceeded any gift benefits to the places you mentioned. I've never been a fan of gift, and you know that. But objectively, I think the money that the city did participate in the downtown renovation are to the various projects.
I'm not so,
I'm going to say that I too feel that perhaps it was not appropriate to require. I'm not sure what the history. I was off council a couple of years, and I think maybe some of that took place then because, frankly, I don't remember the discussion, but maybe
What year did it start? Because it had to be.
I don't have the exact date. It was 5 years ago, I would
It
assume.
was more than that.
You know, the benefits, though, are questionable. You know, I look at when they did it, I lost 5 of my businesses. I still have one that's several $1,000s behind that I'm carrying as he's slowly paying. And then since then, now I've got 6 businesses that are empty. You know, you tell me far exceeds the benefit. We could have spent $300,000, and I got those numbers from Jeff way back, resurfacing and repairing sidewalks and this kind of thing. And we'd have great big beautiful trees, and rather than little bitty bushes, we had planters, we had these kind of things. I was kind of decided without real voluntary participation from most of the downtown businesses. That was the council's decision. It wasn't ours
What was the council?
to tear up the streets and do everything over.
Oh, well, I was around when that happened, and I remember vividly that the front row was generally full, and the person who was kind of the head person of that little committee at that time was here at every meeting. And
Who was that, ma'am?
It was John Harris. And it was push and pull and push and pull and do more and do more and pay more and do more.
And John
So I
owns
would
just a
not-
little bitty
It
place.
would absolutely be not true to say that the city council initiated that all on their own. That isn't so.
I didn't say it was on their own, but
Not at all.
it wasn't necessarily where all the
Pushed
owners
and they
wanted it,
pulled
yeah.
and they
Let's go
pushed
back,
and they
yeah, I'm
pulled.
gonna have to go back, that's so past the.
Yeah,
time
it's
now,
passed.
but-
Now it's
yeah.
decisions and what's fair.
And the only thing I'd like to toss out is now that we've lived virtually downtown for the past, been there for long enough now that I'm starting to get a better feel for downtown. The thing that frustrates me and will on an ongoing basis is the term putting lipstick on a pig comes to mind. When you go down, twice when I had my wife with me, once when I was on my own. Both of these are daylight hours, and there's drunks in the street or in the apartments hollering back and forth, cursing at you. You ride by on your bike or teasing you because you got a bike helmet on, or peeing in the planter. All of those kinds of things, I can see why downtown isn't becoming what it has the potential of becoming because of all the bars and drunkenness that is going on down there. And it really breaks my heart to see. And, I mean, when you have one of the biggest, heavily advertised businesses in the heart of your community, and the name of it is Liquor Pigs, that makes a statement about who we are, or who we think we are. And it breaks my heart because the potential here is incredible. Because of what's happening in Baxter. There isn't a downtown Baxter. All there is big boxes that offer all the same old, same old. There are a few shops downtown that are offering something unique and different.
Mm-hmm.
People are afraid to go downtown because of the alcohol. And I'm not a teetotaler by any means.
I know
But-
that.
No, I'm not. But the point is that somehow, and I don't know what the answer is, but we need to get a handle on that. Or otherwise, it doesn't matter how many flowers we put down.
I was just and talked to Patrick today. I did a ride-along from 8 until 2:30 Saturday night. And I was in the downtown area in an unmarked. And basically got to see firsthand, what goes on, how it goes on, what happens with the loitering after hours. And the police officers asking people to leave downtown. They're sitting on benches and all over, and they come through at 1:30 and 2 and try to move them. But that is not the crowd that you can advertise for, at that hour. You don't want to
That's almost kind of
Yeah.
an aside. I'm talking about one day at 12 or 1:15.
During the day, yeah.
There was a group sitting on the sidewalk and curb planter, and I was so embarrassed that I just.
Well, we used to not have all these benches and things for people to sit on, but that was kind of ignored in the plans too.
Well,
But now we've
they
got
were
them.
sitting on the curb and on the sidewalk itself.
Part of,
Or
the bar thing is interesting. When I had my nightclub, Brainerd was actually a hub for entertainment, and I sold my nightclub 16 years ago. We used to have thousands of people coming downtown. Now we have very few. And during that time, downtown was thriving. I had about 6 or 7 of my employees lived in my buildings. All the people would come down and see all the businesses. They'd come in other times of the day, too. There may have been some enforcement problems, probably a few more because of the number of people drinking and this kind of thing at night. But we were a tourist attraction. Now Brainerd is not. And those clubs are struggling. They
when you
can't.
consider the things, though, that have changed since then.
There were no empty stores.
The liquor laws, I mean, you didn't want to, you could drive anywhere in whatever state of consciousness and probably get away that you can't anymore.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I'm
This is
prepared
true.
to permit me.
Go ahead.
I would move that we direct staff to proceed with distributing notices of hearing and proposed assessment amounts to affected downtown property owners based on the historic distributions for snow removal and 100% related services. And that's a motion. That means there'll be a public hearing on it, and anyone can come and speak at it. But this is the appropriate.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
You have some discussion.
Well, is it appropriate for me to say it now? After you vote, can I say it after you vote?
Yes. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay.
I missed you. I did see your hand, but
One thing I want to clarify, and the other thing I want to bring your attention to. The flowers have never been forced on anybody. Back in '08, when the streetscape plan was approved, there was a lot of discussion about how much streetscape and what the streetscape, the growing streetscape should look like. A lot of give and take. There was a consensus that was reached in '08 about what it should look like. We have a landscaping plan from '08 and shows what the planting agreement was. In that plan, it was agreed that there were going to be something like 16 urns. The round brown, those were part of the original streetscape plan. Those weren't afterthoughts. Everybody knew back in '08 that those urns were going to be used and were intended to be used for additional color and annual plantings. So that was all part of the '08 discussions that went on about approving the streetscape. So none of that was forced on anybody. The other thing I was going to offer was the planning department's always been taking the position that the downtown is important to the community.
Yeah.
So goes the downtown, so goes the city of Brainerd. A good downtown benefits the community. So one could make the argument that if the downtown is the community's downtown, why shouldn't the community be involved in some of the way it looks?
Well, maybe we don't all agree with that, Mark. That's your statement, and I understand you feel that way, but very possibly 90% of the city does not. So I'm not sure it should be forced.
Well,
You know, we
okay.
can't live in the past.
I'm not.
We
That's why
can't live in the past.
I'm not.
everybody done? Item number 8, we're going to go into IT services.
I asked that and
Yes,
Mr. Chairman.
and you can make,
Okay, quite a bit of discussion took place at the budget hearing about the need for additional IT services, or an additional person. And, well, I don't have any argument about the need for a good IT services. My concern was what other options have we looked at? and I was sort of poo-pooed about the whole thing. And as I continue to consider it, the thought occurred to me, that we all know, is that when we looked at budget, we attempted to cut out about everything there is except personnel. Yet personnel is our biggest cost in the city. Personnel is the largest cost. You can't cut everything out indefinitely because there will be a time when you cannot do without certain things. And that's just common sense. So my thoughts were, if the city feels the IT is so important, that's another person if we add it. It's one more person. It frankly is just sinking us even further. Are there alternatives? So I did a couple of, one major. I spoke with Tim Hool, who's the county administrator, and talked to him about it. And I said, Tim, I know you have an IT department. The city has an IT department. Would there be any merit, any benefit in combining them, having one department and everybody pay their fair share? And I'm going to quote Tim exactly, so he doesn't accuse me of putting words in his mouth. He said, I am very open to dialogue. He then pointed out to me that I think Jeff may dispute a little bit, but this would be a good thing to then have a discussion. He said, we already do a great deal of IT for the city. He specifically spoke to the law enforcement, certain things, and certain things in engineering, which Jeff says not so much, but I don't know. I don't know. I also asked him, I said, Tim, do you happen to know if there's any ability to contract for IT services? What I'm trying to do is avoid hiring one more personnel in the city. Yes, he mentioned 2 places that he is aware of that specifically will offer contract IT services. My request, Mr. Chair, is that we would have a small subcommittee who would immediately make an appointment to meet with Mr. Hool and perhaps whoever he thinks is appropriate from their IT department. I would suggest that it would be one from our committee, one from the personnel committee, perhaps our administrator or our IT, some of our IT people, and that we sit down, we hash it out. It may be of no benefit, but why aren't we looking at alternatives? And if you support this and if Chip would support it, I would like to be that person from our committee.
And I'm going to jump in real quick. I did call Datacom today, Tim Steffen. He currently does the IT with Aiken County, knows Patrick Russo very well, and they're at $95 per hour. They'll be within 4 hours of response time. They currently do that in the Aiken County and they're a great firm. I hire them. It's a lot cheaper for me to subcontract out to them. I agree that you need one on staff, but I think you could subcontract too. So I've got those numbers here.
We had a discussion downstairs. Because over the weekend I found out that the city of Baxter, the city of Nisswa, and the city of Staples have contracted with CTC IT. And they have a contract, or they thought it would be less than $25,000 a year. And so that's a possibility, and I mentioned it to the administrator.
Well, it's time we look at options. That's all I'm saying. Whether they work or don't work, we'll know. But I can't vote for things when all the options haven't been looked.
No, and I had to use one for the lightning strike that hit our place 3 weeks ago. I called them up. They were out there. They went out there and done a wonderful job, cleaned it up.
Mr. Hool mentioned Marco also does it, and he mentioned another one that I don't.
7 Sigma, probably?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So I would like to make that recommendation if that we appoint that committee.
Yep, and I'll let Dale do that because you're going to pick people from both sides.
Okay.
Semantis always also.
There is another one.
They're out there. We're going to have to jump to item number 9. I like that. It's classic coatings for the water tower. I know we're gonna need a little time on this.
Please remember, they gave us a proposal that we accepted in the amount of $24,850. We requested them to take a look at amending that because they didn't bring in the overhead equipment and a few other issues. And the invoice that they sent us was a reduction of $4,980, so they reduced it by about $5,000.
The joke.
Yeah.
3 days to 1 day. Their original quote said 3
3
days.
days.
And they were down to 1 day, and I told you already, Chip, what was gonna happen here.
I'm still working with them on it. I just wanted to bring you up to date.
You just,
So I sent another email to them and said,
from
kind of
committee,
explain a few of these
from
things.
committee, it was a total rejection.
So what are we gonna do here, guys?
Send a letter back and reject this proposal.
I don't think you know.
And I'm talking significant rejection. I was on the site 6 hours. 6 hours, 2 men in the truck.